Welcome back, Tiger fans, to Rockin' Radio's football podcast. I'm Nate Edwards. That's Nathan Hurst. This is Before the Box Score. It's game week. Less than 24 hours from now, or certainly less than 24 hours from when you're hearing this, your Missouri Fighting Football Tigers, number 11 team in the nation, and probably better, are going to be going against the Murray State Racers at Faurot Field in real, live action, American tackle football. Nathan Hurst, we made it. We made it.
The long national nightmare has ended. I can see clearly now. The rain has gone. We're back. We are so back. Cannot be more excited, especially with the promise this season brings. We finally made it. I know it's been a long, dark night, but the day has come.
Less than 24 hours. This time, you and I are recording at 8:33 on a Wednesday night. 22 hours from now, Missouri will be kicking off, and they're going to keep score, and the wins and losses are going to count, believe it or not. So now we've already had football. We spent last week, or I spent part of last week watching football being played in Dublin, Ireland, and football being played in Reno, Nevada. And it was great. Love watching it. Really good matchup, surprisingly good games. So, one of those things where it's just like you never know, right? That's one of the best things about college football is you can roll the helmets out and you can still be surprised. Obviously, Georgia Tech took down a top 10 ranked Florida State, which is why Missouri next Monday, assuming everything goes well, will probably be a top 10 team in the nation. But Georgia Tech is apparently rebuilt with Brent Key. University of Nevada at Reno, which apparently did not care about its football team to the point where it does not spend all that much money. Fielded a team that really was able to press an ACC team in SMU, by name only, for 4 full quarters. So we are in that stretch of college football right at the beginning where you feel like you had a good idea, you feel like you had a good practice, a good fall camp, and then you get out on the field and you see exactly what happened. And with the amount of transfer portal movement, every team is a new team every single year. So we've talked about Mizzou. Obviously, all off season, we've talked about its opponents. What is your confidence level, Nathan Hurst? We know what we think that could happen. We know what we want to happen. We read the schedule, but less than 24 hours away. What are your vibes right now?
The vibes are good. The vibes are really good. They're different than they were in, let's say, mid-January. My confidence level in mid-January was through the roof. We're talking, I guess, perhaps pre-Blake Baker departure, through the roof. Now they're at a high level. I would say they've come down just a little bit, not necessarily just because of Blake Baker, but more kind of looking at the landscape of the SEC of college football, becoming a little more acclimated with what other teams are going to be putting on the field that are on Mizzou's schedule this year. They're still quite high, though, still quite high. And they could be better. They could only, they can grow depending on how these first few weeks go. There's a lot of room, to move up. I'm not going in predicting 12-0, but I'm also not predicting 8-4 or less either. So we're in a good spot. I'm sure the coaches would tell everyone that the team looks good, but can get better, and that's kind of where my confidence level is as well.
Yeah, Eli Drinkwitz is doing his best to rein in expectations and really challenge his guys. In his press conference, he said that they were basically practicing blind because they knew nothing about Murray State. And to his credit, there is truth to that. Jody Wright was a position coach at South Carolina this time last year. Jimmy Ogle's an offensive coordinator who's been at kind of the lower levels for a very long time. This Murray State team lost almost all of its receivers, and they were bad at running the ball. But so they had to import a bunch of receivers, but they returned all their running backs. It's, that quarterback threw 7 passes 2 years ago, or maybe it's a transfer guy. Like, there's just so much turnover with that team specifically. Drinkwitz pointed out that he was going on to Huddle and looking at film from high school to see what this guy looked like. Now, I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but the point stands. Murray State is a bit of an unknown. And I could tell you that because I had to do research on it 4 months ago and really didn't pull up much. And even then, the local newspapers aren't really talking a whole lot about it other than the fact that they are traveling to Columbia. There's not a lot of chatter about depth chart movement or starting quarterbacks. It's kind of a black hole of information. Now, Missouri is light years better than Murray State. They were a bad FCS team, but there is some uncertainty. And I guess, Nathan Hurst, does the uncertainty worry you at all?
No, not for this team.
Good.
It's more of a what sort of bad is Murray State this year? Not will they be bad or will they be good? It's what kind of flavor of bad are they? Are they going to come out and not be able to run the ball just like they couldn't run the ball last year? And maybe they could toss it around a little bit, but eventually if you keep the big plays down, you're going to get them off the field after 2 or 3 series each possession. Or is it going to be that their defense is just a complete sieve and you can put up as many points as you want against them? I'm not sure. I don't think anyone really knows. I don't want to bash their program too much. It's just they're not in a position where they're going to be strong really in any specific area. And that's no knock on their coaching staff. They're brand new. They probably don't have any clue what they're going to be putting on the field either, to be honest. Yeah. And so everyone's going to be learning. Murray State fans are going to be learning. Mizzou fans are going to be learning. Murray State coaches and players are going to be learning. And the coaches at Mizzou are too. So it might be a little bit of a learning curve in the first quarter if they come out in 5 wide and the Tigers weren't expecting that, or if they come out in the flex bone, for all we know. It might take them a series or two to really kind of figure out what the Racers are trying to do. But I don't expect that to last too long or to result in too many negative possessions for the Tigers.
So Mizzou has played Murray State before. Do you know how many times they've played them since 2000?
At least once. I remember once off the top of my head. I think I've been in attendance for one of those two, if not both. But they all all the FCS teams kind of run together, to be honest, minus that one Missouri State nasty business in 2016 or 17, whatever that was.
Which was a canary in the coal mine. But no, that Missouri has played Murray State twice. They played him in 2006. This was Chase Daniels, hey, hi, I can throw the ball a lot. His debut. Also 2013. Now, here's the thing about 2013. Very similar situation, which Murray State was getting a hard reset across the board. Now, Missouri was, the 2023 Tigers, basically, where there's talent, but no one thought much of them anyway. Murray State comes in and actually hangs with the Tigers for half. One of the big embarrassing moments that I remember was Murray State's quarterback faking a handoff. Coney Ealing comes crashing down. He's going to get him. Pump fakes. Ely bites, goes into the air. The quarterback goes right around him and tosses it to a running back who was wide open in the flat, and the running back walks in. I'm at a Missouri bar in St. Louis, and someone says, well, there goes the season, which, drunk fans, what are you going to do? But they hung with them because there was just not a lot on tape, and Missouri was still kind of figuring out, okay, we're all back. Are we good? What can we do? So there's always some hiccups, some anxieties, some breaking in points in the first game. It doesn't mean anything. And I think, from a tactics standpoint, from a scheme standpoint, I think any college football team can bamboozle you, can wow you, can surprise you 2 or 3 drives. I would point to Georgia 2022, 21 or 22, when Tyler Macon came out and just ran with his ass on fire, and Georgia's like, this is so annoying. What are we supposed to do? Not that they couldn't stop it. It's just they didn't anticipate it. And then, drive 3, drive 4, I was just, we're better than you, and shut it down. That's just kind of the nature of college football. So, no, I'm not super worried about Murray State. You shouldn't either. But do anticipate maybe some funky happenings, maybe some head-scratching decision-making or outcomes of plays. Don't worry about it. It's the first game of the year. These sorts of things happen. Now, we've got a depth chart. We're going to go through it because we've been projecting this baby for 9 months now, and we finally have one. It's the first week of game week, and we're going to dive into it. We're going to take a look at it. A couple surprises here and there. I'm mostly interested in the conversation around the 3 deep rather than the 2, but we'll go through it. Let's start with quarterbacks, Nathan Hurst. There's not really a whole lot of surprise here. Quarterback number 1 is going to be Brady Cook. That's always going to be the case. That's been the case basically since Connor Bazelak left. And then his backup is Drew Pine, which, again, we all kind of anticipated. especially with Sam Horn missing the season with an injury that he sustained in baseball, and Aiden Glover being, a first-year freshman who's still trying to figure out where Dobbs is. So, any big takeaways from quarterback here?
No, I mean that's exactly what we knew was going to be the second that Drew Pine announced he was transferring here. The only real surprise there is looking at their stats there. Drew Pine 5'11". I had thought he was a little bigger than that, so he's smaller dude than I expected. Just looking, I don't think I ever looked at his height and weight, 5'11", 196. So maybe he can put on a few pounds as the backup this year. But otherwise, it's pretty chalk.
I mean, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. For the past 5 years, in 2020, he was 6'1", 181. 2021, he was 5'11", 200. 2022, he was 5'11", 200. Those were at Notre Dame. He then transferred to Arizona State, grew an inch magically, became 6', 194, and then transfers back to the world where we actually keep accurate heights, and he went back to 5'11", 196. So that's kind of who he is. Nothing against short quarterbacks, right? Short canes can do wonders. Kyler Murray's not a big guy. Patrick Mahomes is not a super big guy. The way that modern offenses are set up, you don't need to be some hulking 6'6" quarterback to see over the line and throw it. But to your point, yeah, a little bit more aerodynamic compared to the 6'2", 212 Brady Cook. Or hell, even the 6'4", 221 Sam Horn or the 6'3", 197 Aiden Glover. So, that's okay. But just keep in mind, assuming nothing changes, which what a silly thing to say in modern college football, but assuming nothing changes, this schedule gets run back almost exactly the same next year. And unless Matt Zollers is him version 2, or Aiden Glover makes a leap, or Sam Horn isn't injured and interested in playing football, Drew Pine's going to be your starting quarterback. I mean, we're not going to really learn anything about him this year, but that was the move, right? That's why he's here. So what are the odds that we see Drew Pine in this game?
They're high. He's going to play. Now, how much is that? 2 series at the end of the fourth quarter, or is that coming in after giving Cook a 1 series after the start of the second half, which is what I hope is the case, and then getting him out of there? That remains to be seen. If history is any guide, which is probably the best predictor of future action, would be that he only gets in for a couple series. But let's hope we're up by a lot, and there's no excuse not to.
That's the thing. Eli Drinkwitz, in one of his press conferences this week, he said the practices are for practicing and games are for winning. And boy, if there was ever a phrase that I've been, stretching for over the past 4 years, that was it. I have been harping on this staff since they came here. Why aren't you playing your young guys? Why aren't you getting them out there and having them see live action snaps at the positions that they will be playing in the future? And there's your answer. Eli Drinkwitz is not going to put them out there until the game is won, and he plays a conservative enough style on offense and does not really run up the score that he does not feel comfortable putting them out there unless it's New Mexico State 22 and you're up by 30 with an entire quarter left. So I don't know. I don't know if Missouri is going to be in a position where they're up 30 at any point. That's not really what they do. So my hot take is that we're not going to see Drew Pine at all. And I would strongly suggest that we do. When you talk about a season like this, we've been talking all offseason about how everything just seems to align. A great way to derail it, is for an injury to a key contributor like quarterback or anybody. So I certainly hope that we see the young guys, just for everybody's mental health and mental health of the fans and the physical health of the players.
One thing that's different this year than previous years is obviously the stakes are way higher.
That's true.
And I'm wondering if that changes the thinking at all, knowing that what is on the table for this team potentially, if they reach the ceiling that we think that they have, is very different than the beginning of last year or 2023 or 2022, excuse me, for that matter. So in those development years, which is he probably, I'm sure, how he thought of them in some ways, he may have really wanted to keep his starters out there because he felt like they needed the development. But if anyone's arguing that Luther Burden or Brady Cook are going to benefit by running more plays against Murray State in the fourth quarter, that's just silly. So,
Yeah.
Who knows what he's going to do? We'll find out in less than 24 hours. But my hope is this: he sees the stakes, he sees what could be lost versus what could be gained, and make some educated decisions there. But
yeah, you also have a bunch of old dudes on this offense, man.
Yeah,
they're all going to be gone next year.
The experience is there. They're not going to get any better because they're playing 15 extra snaps against Murray State in the second quarter or the second half.
Absolutely not. But then again, I've been saying that for 4 years, and here we are still complaining about it. Anyway, that's quarterback. Let's jump to running back. This room was really chalk. I think it's exactly how we anticipated it. Nate Knowles, your one. We've talked about that for a couple of weeks now. Marcus Carroll is your two, followed by Jamal Roberts, the St. Mary's product out of St. Louis, redshirt freshman. He is third string, then followed up by the El Paso wonder, Tavoris Jones, who's in his second year, and then Kawan Lacey, baby freshman Kawan Lacey, is going to be your fifth option if this is to be believed. Thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's chalk. That's what we knew was going to be the case after it was clear that Nate Noel was kind of distancing himself as the main guy. We knew Marcus Carroll was always going to get reps. He's always going to get onto the field. So having him with that or designation is fine. It's clear that Nate Noel's the starter, but and if you look throughout, and we'll talk about it more in other position groups, but all the transfers that they spent any significant NIL to get here are an or, whether or not they're truly a 1A, 1B starter remains to be seen. But he's an or. A lot of the other big transfers are ors as well. So I think it's just the way the game's played these days.
Yep.
Dear Rock M Plus listeners, readers, and subscribers, we are thrilled to announce our first ever digital Mizzou Football review magazine. Inspired by the iconic newsstand staples like Athlon, Phil Steele, and Street and Smith, our team has created a PDF file jam-packed full of content for you to learn about the most anticipated Missouri football season maybe in history. Checking in at about 100 pages, we have in-depth previews of all 12 opponents, analysis of each position group, profiles of newcomers, exclusive photographs, features like a retrospective on the 2014 team, the evolution of Faurot Field, Luther Burden's place in Mizzou history, and more. We also have an analytics Q&A with Bill Connolly of ESPN, the founder of RockM. We also have college football preview content and much more. This digital magazine is available now. It is $15 for purchase, with discounts available for premium RockM Plus subscribers based on your membership tier. $10 for monthly members, $5 if you have an annual membership. Now is the time to become a member to secure your discount on this one-of-a-kind product today. We know that you're going to love this magazine, and we can't wait to have it on your devices. MIZ.
We talked about Short King Drew Pine. Running back room is the kingdom of short kings. Nate Noel, 5'8". Marcus Carroll, 5'9". Tavoris Jones, 5'9". Kawan Lacey, 5'9". Which, again, we talk about not trusting high school measurements. I'm pretty sure Kawan Lacey was listed at 5'11" when he was coming out of high school. That ain't the case. Also along those lines too, Austin Dindy. It continues to be a bit of a curveball that they took him out of the safety group and put him in the running backs because he is 6'2", 211, tallest and almost heaviest. If you're looking for your Cody Schrader, Marcus Carroll's going to be doing his damnedest to remind you of Cody Schrader because he is almost the exact height weight, 5'9", 216. Where's number 9? So he's got like the little slanty number down his chest. It's going to be similar. He also pumps his arms, kind of like the muscle hamster did. A lot of violent elbowy pumping. Like he's going to remind you of that. But also his style is very similar too. But Nate Noel is going to be your speedster. He's the guy that's going to be taking the first snap, is what Eli Drinkwitz said. We'll see how the carries get doled out over the year. But it seems like you got two good options, a little bit thunder or lightning. Plus you have Jamal Roberts, who is a do-everything guy who's also 6'2", 211. So we will see. Get to the wide receivers. Again, you are not going to be any surprised at all as who's starting. It is exactly who you think it's going to be. Luther Burden in the slot, Mookie Cooper, and then Theo Weiss on the outside. Really, the question was always going to be who's behind them. And again, it was nothing really surprising. Mekhi Miller's behind Luther Burden. You had Marquise Johnson behind Theo Weiss. Okay. The big one, I think, is behind Mookie Cooper. You have Josh Manning and Courtney Crutchfield. Josh Manning in his second year, Courtney Crutchfield in his first. And then behind that, you had the walk-on Logan Muckey behind Marquise Johnson. And then the president, James Madison, as the fourth. He's listed behind Theo Weiss. And, of course, our friend Daniel Blood is third behind Luther Burden and Mekhi Miller. Which of these receivers are you really looking forward to the most? Either the second-year returners or any of the freshmen?
I mean, we know what to expect out of the three starters, and I'm, of course, looking forward to seeing all three of those guys play, but I'm really interested in seeing Josh Manning get on the field and Mekhi Miller as well. But we've seen him a little bit too. I'm just really looking forward to seeing Josh Manning. Obviously, Speedy Johnson as well is always a treat to watch run down the field. But from what we've heard out of camp, I wouldn't be shocked if by closer to halfway through the season, Manning's taking a lot of reps from Mookie Cooper in that other outside position. So very, very excited to see what he can do.
Yep. And again, you cannot trust high school. Courtney Crutchfield was listed at 6'2", 210. What is he in Missouri? 6'1", 188. No, I am actually excited the most because obviously the freshmen are very intriguing. What can a healthy Mekhi Miller do for us? Because he was not healthy for most of last year. He caught that touchdown against Middle Tennessee and then kind of disappeared. For no fault of his own other than just his body betrayed him. He was so effective as a freshman. I think every catch he had was converting a key third down. And we saw a little bit of that last year, and not that was absolutely needed, but I want to see him get back in the rotation. There's just oh my God, there's so many talented targets here. I don't know how you dole these out, which is why we go back to sit Burden and Weiss and Cooper and let the young boys get some targets against Murray State, please, because I want to keep them happy. I want to see what we can do here. I'm excited for a healthy Mekhi Miller. I think that's an effective weapon, and I want to see him on there. I'm also really curious what the freshman can do. Obviously, you got to block to get the rock, and I doubt that we see much of the freshman, but I like to see him. And I really, for all the talk that Josh Manning's had, I mean, he sounds like the second coming of Jeremy Maclin. So I would love to see him do more than just, run a little option route before the snap and then sit on the sideline. So interesting on that. We get to tight end. Yeah, no surprises. Brett Norfleet, who came on strong to close out the year. He is listed as your top tight end. Jordan Harris, who is the every inch of blocking tight end that you could possibly imagine. He is also going to be your second tight end. And then Tyler Stevens, the guy who played last year. He is also an option. He came back for his graduate year. So he took that, and he's listed as starter, probably a solid third if I had to guess. Thoughts on the tight end group?
Yeah, I mean, it's just how you'd think it'd line up. Stevens is a nice depth piece. I mean, if he's going to be your third tight end, you're going to be happy with that. Doesn't have the best hands in the world. Though, to be fair, I'm not sure we've even seen Jordan Harris get a pass thrown his way, so we don't really know what his hands are like either. But that's fine. We don't need either of those guys to catch the ball because Brett Norfleet is a monster and can take all those catches that position needs. So if both Harris and Stevens can block, they're good. I mean, Harris has surpassed Stevens, even though Stevens has played a lot of football for the Tigers. I think Harris just has another level of athleticism that Stevens doesn't really bring. So nice to have a third guy that you can throw out there if you have to, but I think we'll see Norfleet and Harris 98% of the time. Yeah. Stevens will be on the field for special teams. I'm sure he'll be one of the extra point blockers and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pretty solid unit compared to how it was a couple years ago, where you just throw a dart at the tight end room and whoever it hits, you're like, congratulations and sorry because that probably hurt. Yeah. You're on the field now. You're not going to get the ball thrown to you. Hopefully you don't commit any penalties. So
pretty much. Both Norfleet and Stevens lost an inch over the offseason. Norfleet went from 6'7" to 6'6". Stevens went from 6'6" to 6'5". However, you want to talk about consistency as far as your dieting and nutrition plan goes. Lights Out Missouri, they're all listed somewhere between 250 and 255. You did it. The curious case then is Jude James, who is the freshman that came to us from Francis Howell High School in St. Charles. He's an athlete. He can play safety, he can play tight end. Maybe you could flex him into a running back or a receiver. They put him at tight end. And here's my question. This is a curious one, Hurst. I'm trying to figure out what they're doing with him. He is listed at 6'2", 222. Not 6'4", not 6'5", not 250, not 255. 6'2", 222. That is that's a couple cookies over a wide receiver. And he's listed as a tight end. Are we going to get Michael Agnew part 2? Or is this a guy who needs to grow into the tight end role? Or is this just we're stashing you here until we figure out where to play you?
That's probably the latter there. I'm sure they look at his frame and think they can put more weight on him to get him to be a tight end. My guess is they tried him at safety too, and like, maybe the athleticism is not where we want it for that position. Where else can we find a spot for this guy? Tight end is a thought. I wouldn't be shocked if they try to turn him into some kind of an outside pass rusher at some point, depending on how much weight he can put on.
Sure.
It's clear he's gonna redshirt this year. I mean, it didn't make the 2 deep, but I'd imagine Whit Hafer's in that same boat, minus any kind of major injuries in that room.
Sure.
Both of those guys will spend a year, get bigger, get stronger. I'm sure that their plans is to reevaluate him come spring and see what they got.
Yeah, and like Hafer was a offensive lineman in high school, if I remember correctly. He's listed at 6'6", 256, so he's already got the size. Now a lot of that's probably just baby weight. They need to cut that, build it back up, but also we're not really expecting him to do much. It's really interesting because Ryan Horskamp was about 6'2", 240, and then Max Wisner 6'3". And neither of those guys could really see the field consistently as a tight end. And then you have Norfleet at 6'6", Harris at 6'4", Stevens at 6'6". Like, it kind of feels like that's what they're looking for. Hafer, obviously 6'6". Like, they want to get kind of the bigger passing target. And then you've got Jude James here. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm really curious to see what they want to do with him. If it's, throw on 40 pounds and become, Daniel Parker Jr., cool. Just to block your ass off tight end. That's great. It's curious. That's all. That's what I'm thinking.
And Drink's used a kind of an H-back at some points in the past, not as much last year, sometimes. Yeah. So I could see him fitting in there too. If he's not going to be a big target downfield, but can put on 25 pounds and, steamroll some dudes in the run game, that could be a pretty nice fit for him if it works out.
Absolutely. So moving to the offensive line, again, no surprises here. We have beaten this thing to death. I think our last iteration is actually the thing that popped up on the depth chart here. So going left to right, starting left tackle, Marcus Bryant, the transfer from SMU. Left guard, Caden Green, the transfer from Oklahoma. Center, Connor Tollison, our errant snap boy, coming back for a 4th year. On the right guard, Cameron Johnson, former transfer from Houston, 2nd-year starter at the right guard position. And then, of course, your right tackle, potential NFL entry, we'll see, Armand Mimbu out of Missouri. Now, here's the interesting part, because we knew Javen Richardson was kind of your swing tackle. He was definitely the 6th best guy. He gave Marcus Bryant a run for his money. He is listed as Marcus Bryant's backup at left tackle. You have Logan Reichert as the backup left guard, the former blue chipper out of Raymore. Then you have Tristan Wilson, who is going to be your backup center. He is a 2nd-year player. You have Curtis Pegler. My goodness. I mean, he's a 3rd-year player. I know that, but he is 6'4", 337. The Alabama product from Demopolis High School. And then, of course, the hulking Mitchell Walters, 6'8", 331 as your right tackle. That is your 2 deep. Obviously, things can change year to year, but mostly we see 6, maybe 7 guys see the field based off of name and what you've heard through practice. Is this the year where we see more than 6 or 7 guys taking snaps at the offensive line position, not because of injury issues?
Yeah, I mean, if you hadn't qualified it there, I would have said I hope not.
Yeah,
I'd still probably no. the one spot I could see them trying to rotate someone in would be at the center spot, just because that's such a hard position to replace if there is, just with communication and stuff. So I could see them trying to get Tristan Wilson in there, get a few snaps in there for him. Otherwise, unless it's a blowout and they just have pulled the entire first string, we're going to see the first string guys pretty much the whole time, I'd have to think. I do find it interesting. I mean, I as far as the backups go, we knew Javen Richardson was going to be the backup left tackle. I think he probably would be the backup right tackle too. But they weren't going to put his name in twice. So they'll give the nod to Mitchell Walters, who has been around a long time. He's been a long-standing backup guy. I would think if something were to happen, God forbid, to Armand Minbu, it'd probably be Richardson slotting in there. Guards are kind of interesting. I could also see Tristan Wilson being a guard too if we needed it in a pinch. I'm not quite sure if he wouldn't replace Cameron Johnson at right guard over Piegler if it had to be done.
Yeah, I mean, you watched Wilson's tape at Lebanon High School, and this was a man who had joy hitting other men. Like it brought him happiness. There was such a ferocity in how he hit dudes. And I get that that's high school. I get that's Lebanon, Missouri. But like, I was so excited when I was like, oh man, this could be Missouri's next guard. But you also have a Logan Reichert who's like 340 pounds. You have a Curtis Piegler who's 340 pounds. Yeah, that's pretty good to put as a guard, right? Just a whole bunch of meat coming at you. And, for Tristan Wilson, he still has that ferocity. That's not going anywhere. But you want a little bit more speed, a little bit more agility from your center. So it does make a lot of sense to get him reps there if they can get him out there. Obviously, Drake Heismeyer is listed as an OR starter. He has been the backup center for 4 years. So, like, he's got it down. I don't know if he's going to come back next year or not, but that's, you would like to have some options at center because, like, to your point, it is tough. And kind of your lighter, faster guys slot in there a little bit better. So really curious to see if we ever do see him. And so that leaves kind of the other, what's your third string? And these are the guys that you're probably not going to see. We're probably not going to see Brandon Solis. He is a redshirt freshman this year. You're not going to see Ryan Jost. He's the freshman out of Washington, Missouri. You're not going to see Talon Chandler, who's the freshman out of Nevada R5 high school. And you're not going to see Caleb Pyfrom, who is 18 and 337 pounds. Just throwing that out there. That's a candidate for the gun club to cut that and build it back up. But those guys are not going to see. If you can't make it too deep, you're a freshman offensive lineman, it's not going to happen. So that is it. We'll see how much we see these guys outside of injury time. But it sounds, I've said it before. I think this is probably the most talented offensive line. It's a question of how they play well together. Has your opinion of that changed since we haven't seen anything, or do you still feel pretty highly about this offensive line?
No, I'm still very high on this line if it all comes together. Now, it's much more than 5 individual people and 5 individual talents. They've got to work together as a cohesive unit. We know 2013's offensive line could do that better than just about any that I've ever seen at Mizzou. But these 5 individual players, I think, all have greater talent. So we'll have to see how they coalesce. But the potential is still very much there.
Yeah, I agree. So then we get to the interesting part, right? Because defense is a lot more substitution based. There's a lot more, you have starters, you have guys who are going to take more snaps, but it takes a village to play defense, right? It requires, more than just your starting 11 to get it done. So this is where second and third string really do matter. And this is where a third stringer in preseason can impress during the games and work his way up into, more reps and become more of a second teamer. So this stuff is really important here. Let's start with the defensive line. Your first defense, your edge rusher, the Michigan State transfer Zion Young, not a surprise. However, he is an OR starter with, what was his last? Georgia Tech. With Georgia Tech South Florida transfer Eddie Kelly. They are listed as OR starters at one defensive end spot. Your other defensive end is Johnny Walker Jr. We knew he was going to start. Joe Moore, who saw snaps last year. Here is where I get excited because we knew we had a Williams Nwaneri on staff, right? We knew he's on the team. We know he's here. Jaylen Brown gets the nod as the first name as third defensive end. And then on top of that, Ja'Kai Lane, the Troy product, is listed as third on the other side. Look, Nathan Hurst, we know Williams Nwaneri's going to play. I'm not saying it's going to be a lot. I think you all need to be like prepared to be disappointed with like 8 snaps from Williams this game. But I'm very excited that Jaylen Brown is listed as third first and that Ja'Kai Lane is finally starting to creep on there. What are your thoughts on the edge rushers?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Brown even made the list in the first place is very exciting. I kind of had written him off, as a red shirt. This kid's got talent. He's going to develop, come back in a couple years, and we'll see him on the field. But the fact that he got in there as the number 3 guy, I mean, that means he's going to play as a true freshman. That's a big deal. That's definitely a big deal. So I'm excited about that. Ja'Kai Lane, we'll see. He's also number 3 on the other side. I'm glad he made the list. I think they wouldn't have put someone's name on this list if they weren't going to play, or at least have the opportunity to play at some point in time. And now Ja'Kai's already redshirted once, so it's not like they're going to gain anything by not playing him if they wanted to or needed to. But it's nice to see him on there. And it shows that maybe the coaches think they have a little more depth than we might have thought since the Darius Smith injury, the unfortunate injury there.
I mean,
sorry, you go.
No, I was just going to say, to your point, this might be a injury promotion, right? Like it could very well be that they did not want him out there, and that's fine. However, he is out there, and Johnny Walker and Joe Moore will not be on this team next year. So, and again, you cannot expect things to stay the same. That's silly. But arguing that if they did, Ja'Kai Lane will be your starter next year on the edge. Kind of makes you feel like the redshirt freshman, you getting his first snaps now with the potential runway to be a starter. I don't know. That makes me excited. Yeah,
it's better to be excited than to be scared. If they would not have put him on there if it was a reason to be scared, they probably would have just dropped Nwaneri down to the other end and had 3 on each side. So there's a reason he's on the list.
Yeah. Is one of these the Joker? I know that they talked about that in the offseason. We have not really heard much about it. It's like a play side versus weak side, but like, I don't know. They didn't designate it as a position. So like, are we just...
I mean, based on what we saw, this says very little, but based on what we saw at the spring game, it was Johnny Walker and Darius Smith that were playing that Joker position. So it would make me think that Johnny Walker's spot is that spot. But it also kind of seems, reading the tea leaves, like the Joker is not going to be an every down kind of thing. It's going to be based on the position, the field position and down and distance. And does Corey Batoon, have an itch in his butt or not? What as far as when they call plays that have a Joker or not. So it'll be interesting to see now that we actually see a real game, when and how they use those defensive ends. Do they line up off the ball often or not? That is a lot to remain to be seen there. Not that they're going to really want to show their hand too much in this game. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we saw no Joker in this game, just to hold that one close to the vest till Boston College or Vanderbilt.
And I mean, even if they did, the guy's not going to raise his hand and say, "Hey, I'm a Joker right now. Hey, look at me." Like, that's not going to happen. So we're not going to know is basically the takeaway there. But I don't know. I was curious. I was wondering if they were going to designate it as an actual position. And they haven't, so that's fine. Yeah. Moving into the interior. Now, we heard a lot of excellent things about Mr. Marquise Graciel, the former 4-star from St. Charles High School. All that, and then we get the Florida transfer Chris McClellan as one starting defensive tackle. Christian Williams has been here for quite some time. He's going to be your other starting tackle. Behind Chris McClellan, you have Jalen Marshall from Kansas or Sam Williams, the player that we won in exchange for letting Wake Forest win the bowl game. And then behind Christian Williams, you have the former St. Louis prospect, the former New Mexico State standout Sterling Webb, backing up Christian Williams. And then Marquise Graciel's an or second guy with Sterling Webb. I am choosing to look at this as a good thing, that Marquise Graciel, with all the hubbub around him, they were all very impressed. and he is an or starter, and that tells me that Sterling Webb's really freaking good. What do you think about that?
It's interesting. What stuck out to me was Jalen Marshall being pretty high up on the list, higher up even than Marquise Gracio.
Yeah.
Which is potentially exciting. We've talked about this many times in the offseason, but one of those two guys needs to step up. We're assuming that Sterling Webb is good and is going to play. That's three guys that we can count on. One of those between Jalen Marshall, Marquise Gracio, and if you want to throw Sam Williams in there, you can, sure. One of those three players needs to be a solid contributor on this team. If we can get both of them or two out of three, even better. But one of those guys, if this defense is going to be anywhere near as successful as they have been, need to be able to play significant snaps and be productive while they do so.
One of the things that I've been interested in watching as Eli Drinkwitz, sinks his teeth into this program is the evolution of the defensive line. When he was trying out defensive lines in 2020, 2021, they were very light. He valued a lot of speed and quickness on the interior. The guys would be, 290, 295. I think Jaden Jernigan was playing at 287 last year, or from what I understand from the at least from the roster, the official roster. But as he continued to portal people in and bring in his kind of guys from the high school ranks, you saw that SEC heft start taking over. Then to my point, Chris McClellan is 6'4", 325. Jalen Marshall is 6'3", 330. Sam Williams is 6'3", 299. Get it done and get to 300. Marquise Gracio, 6'4", 325. Even freshman Justin Bodford out of Plantation, Florida, St. Thomas Aquinas, 6 foot 307. Right? SEC's a line of scrimmage league. You gotta have some butts on these guys. And it seems like the strength and training program's got the butts on him. I mean, your lightest guy is Sterling Webb, who's 6'1", 290, and then Christian Williams, who's 6'2", 295. Christian was playing at 314 last year, so he kind of seems like he slimmed down a little bit. But you need bulk. You need to take up space, at least at one of those tackle positions. And that was something that really struggled in 2021 when Mizzou was getting its ass blown off at the line. So this is SEC heft. Now you just got to pair it with the SEC speed. How do you feel about the potential of a good four-man rotation like we've had the past couple of years?
I mean, it remains to be seen. I think they have the chance. Am I confident that this a four-man solid rotation similar to previous years is going to coalesce? Not yet. I'm going to have to see it on the field first. But as you said, with the size of a Jalen Marshall 330 or a Graciel 325, those guys are big enough that they don't have to do a whole lot other than just not move. And it's hard to move a 330-pound man. So that makes me feel a little bit better seeing the size of these guys, that if they can just sit in one spot and be lazy and don't move, then they're automatically going to be doing something good. Just be in the way. Now, if they could give us a little more than that, that would be great. But if they could, at worst case, just be in the way and be hard to move, then we're getting something out of them.
Obviously, inflation hits everybody. You can't escape it. It affects all facets of life. That's just part of it. Do you remember Josh Augusta?
Of course. Who wouldn't remember that fine gentleman?
So for our listeners who might be a little bit younger than us, Josh Augusta, I think he was from Peoria, Illinois. He was a freshman defensive tackle on the 2013 football team. He really came into his own in 2014, where he earned the nickname Big Bear because he was just the biggest freaking dude on the team. Hurst, do you remember how big Big Bear was? Do you know his height and weight?
I don't remember his height, but he if he wasn't 360, he was 250 pounds. The guy was closer to 400 than he was to 300 pounds.
Yeah. Well,
also the finest short yardage back that Mizzou has ever had.
Yeah. So Josh Augusta, his final playing weight was 335 pounds.
And that's after slimming down significantly.
Yeah. Or 10 pounds heavier than Chris McClellan, 5 pounds heavier than Jalen Marshall. 10 pounds heavier than Marquise Gracio. My point is 10 years of football, price of the bag goes up. Big goes up. And I know Josh Augusta was lugging around 370 pounds in his butt. He was 335 when he was an effective player, and he was still called Big Bear. And now that's the going rate for defensive tackles now, which is how long until we see a 400-pound player? Oh, I guess we've already seen it. That Florida Gators defensive lineman, he played at 415, I think, last year. Big
That
Wiggle.
guy was a monster.
Big
He wasn't
Wiggle.
very good, but he was a monster.
No. He just, God, I could hear the farts as he tried to run. Like it was, man. I love that watching that guy though, and Big Wiggle might be my favorite nickname of all time for a guy that size. But anyway, we'll move away from the line. Let's go to linebacker. Obviously, it's a position that has been de-emphasized over the years as defenses have evolved. It's less about playing the run and sticking your nose in the line and more about playing passing lanes, more about getting out in space and tackling. Still a very important position. It's way more havoc focused now. Send them on blitzes. So you need to have speed. You need to have strength. You have a good nose for what's happening in the play. And guess what? The theme of the night, it's the exact guys that you thought it was going to be. Tristan Newsom starting on the weak side. Chuck Hicks starting on the inside. Both of those guys, havoc flavored gentlemen. Now, the interesting part, if you want to find it interesting, is to Hurst's point, as he mentioned earlier, if you are a transfer, you got the OR designation. And lo and behold, Khalil Jacobs is an OR starter with Tristan Newsom on the outside. And of course, Corey Flagg, the Miami import, is an OR starter on the inside with Chuck Hicks. Outside of that, you have Brayshawn Littlejohn and Nick Rodriguez backing up Tristan Newsom as your 3 and 4. And then the 4-star Michigan transfer, Jeremiah Beasley, and the Arkansas product, Brian Huff, as the 3/4 on the inside. Hurst, we're going to see all 4 linebackers. You have to have 4 linebackers. What are the chances the freshmen get on the field at any point this year?
Special teams, yeah, absolutely. They're not going to. They're not going to see the field on defense, barring major injuries. I think it's interesting. We're definitely going to see all 4. I'm wondering in this position specifically how much they gave the top billing, meaning Chuck Hicks, Tristan Newsom, based on the fact that they're returning players versus we got our transfers in. We're not going to put them on top of you, but we're going to give them an OR. I would not be shocked, maybe not today or Thursday or this first couple weeks. I would not be shocked if a Khalil Jacobs starts to creep into being playing more than a Tristan Newsom. I think Hicks will probably take the bulk of the snaps over Corey Flagg, given the fact that he's a team captain and he just has that much more experience. But I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out that really they're just kind of giving the nod to the returning guys, but a couple of these transfers might actually surpass them at some point in the season in terms of overall snaps. They're all going to play. They're all going to see the field. We've seen that Newsom can be very productive on a fairly limited snap count. So maybe they can see that we could send both these guys 50-50 and keep them both very rested, very energetic, send them running after the quarterback over and over and over again and create as much havoc as we possibly can. I could be completely wrong. It could be Tristan Newsom 95% of the time, and it's the opposite. And they gave Jacobs the OR because they're paying him some NIL money and they want to show off to their potential transfers that you'll get on the field if you come here. We'll see. Yeah. But I'm very interested in seeing what the actual snap count totals play out here.
Yeah, it could be very even. Now, Chuck Hicks is 25. He should be playing for his second NFL contract, and he's not. Yeah, he's playing college.
Yeah, he's paying a mortgage, and he's got grandkids by this point.
Pretty much. I mean, because of the 2 medical red shirts. This is 7th year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7th year. Yeah, and the COVID year. So 25. We have seen that playing older guys really pays off. So I think having a 25-year-old linebacker out there, just from a physical standpoint, that is your peak physicality for a male. 25, 26. From an athlete standpoint, it's not going to get much better than that. Now, obviously, Corey Flagg is not, 19. He's 24, 23, 24. So, he's right there too. But Hicks has been here a while. He knows the system. Hot Shoulders on YouTube. Wasn't there a guy from Baylor a few years ago that was 6'10", 400? I think he was a tight end. I think he's talking about Laquan McGowan, who is it's like 6'6", 405, I think. Who was a tight end in name.
There's nothing tight about that end. I can promise you that.
Floppy end is what we'll call that. That was a big dude. That was a big freaking dude. Did not have a cool nickname, but I think I saw him catching passes, which was always very funny to see, a circus bear catch a football. But yeah, good point, Hot Shoulders. You are right on that. All right, moving from linebackers, we'll go into the defensive secondary again, the position that's causing me heartburn for most of the offseason. Let's start with corner. So looking at what we have on the depth chart that was released, again, not a huge surprise on one end. You do get Drayden Norwood as your starter, like a iron locked starter, Drayden Norwood. Behind him, you have Marcus Clark, who transferred to Mizzou from Miami a couple of years ago. So he's in his last year. And then you have the former safety, former receiver, current corner, Jamarian Wayne out of Parkway the Parkway North. And then Cameron Keys, the freshman who everyone has been raving about, but will probably just be a special teamer. He is kind of listed as the or with Jamarian Wayne. On the other side, this was the real question. Is it going to be Toriano Pride, the Clemson transfer, the former St. Louis product? Is he going to get the starting position? Or is it going to be the rocketing young man from Illinois, the long jumper, Nick DeLoach, who everybody's talking about? And so far, it's Toriano Pride listed first as an or with Nick DeLoach. Now, behind those two, Shamar McNeil, and then Jaren Sensabaugh, the freshman. I still don't feel good about this. There's too many questions about everybody. What's your take on this?
I think there's a lot of guys in that room that can play. The top end is not going to be what we've enjoyed the last couple of years, which if you look at the history of Mizzou football, the last couple of years have been a far outlier for our cornerback production and skill. So this might bring us a little bit back to the norm of what we're used to seeing cornerbacks in this program. But there are several guys on this list that I think are perfectly serviceable. Norwood has proven that. He might even be a little better than serviceable. One of Pride or DeLoach, I think, are going to be fine. And then Marcus Clark is serviceable. Beyond that, you got to have probably one more player that can step up. But Jamarian Wayne, great athlete, maybe he can put it together. Could be the other guy. I'm not as worried about it as you. I don't think. At the same time, they're not going to be outstanding. They're not going to be outstanding. But as long as they can be fine, as long as they can be serviceable, I think they'll be okay.
Well, we could be looking back 2 years from now and say, yeah, we replaced 2 NFL corners with another 2 NFL corners. Well, how about that? Like Drinkwitz did such a great job. We could do that. We could also say, boy, what could have been if Rakestraw stuck around another year for this run with this schedule because the other guys couldn't hack it. You don't know. And when you're looking for runs to the playoff, runs for a national championship, maybe a run for an SEC championship, whatever, you need to know. You need to know these things. They need to be proven. They need to be consistent. They need to be guaranteed. And we just do not have that. So I love that you're more optimistic than me. Obviously, negative Nate over here. But like, I just, not feeling great. And I'm not going to feel great until probably after Texas A&M or no, because I only feel bad. Yeah, I'll feel great after Texas A&M. That's where I'm going to stand.
If we're 5-0 after Texas A&M, you'll feel great. Okay.
I'll feel better. I'll feel better.
All right. I'll be with you there too.
Look, winning soothes all ailments. We know this. All right, so let's get into the rest of the secondary with the safeties. Again, if it's a returning starter, they're probably listed as the starter. So here we are, Joseph Charleston. He is listed as the strong safety this year. He is an or starter with Trevez Johnson, almost exactly as it was last year. Dalen Carnell returns as a starter for safety. Sidney Williams is a solid number 2 behind Dalen Carnell. And then, of course, our favorite vehicle speedster, Philip Roche, is listed as third. Trajan Greco is listed as third behind Joseph Charleston and Trevez Johnson. There we go. At the free safety position, you have Marvin Burks Jr. from St. Louis. And now he saw some snaps last year, not a lot. But then behind him is Caleb Flagg. Who? Yeah, Caleb Flagg, brother of the other Flagg that we've already mentioned on this here program. He is Corey Flagg's brother, both from Houston, Texas. Just Caleb has played at Houston Baptist? No, Houston Christian. Houston Christian.
It used to be Houston Baptist. They changed their name to Houston Christian. Yeah.
Whatever. The religious Houston school. He's been there for the past 2 years. He walked on to Mizzou this year when his brother came on. He is listed as the backup to Marvin Burks. So you're sitting here going, okay, how does a walk-on do that? Well, number one, he could be really good. We don't know. But I know Jackson Hancock was thought highly of kind of coming out of high school, but he's not ready. So that's really all you have though. It's a lot, but you have 3 safety positions, which means at a minimum you need 6 guys. And if one of them ain't ready, then you're looking to the walk-on bunch. So I think the other Flagg could be just as capable as his brother. He's played in 21 games at Houston Christian. He's logged 101 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 11 passes broken up, and 2 interceptions in his 2 years for the Huskies. I don't know what Houston Christian is. He played starter minutes for an FCS team and did well. This isn't like just pulling you or me off the street. But that, to me, that's the biggest story. A walk-on gets to be second string safety. What are your takeaways from this group?
It kind of seems like he was a very pleasant surprise for the coaches coming into the fall. He was kind of a toss in. Oh, we got Corey Flagg. Yeah, we'll give your brother a walk-on spot. Sure, why not? It hurts nothing. And it turns out that he actually can play. So the one question it gives me is, I really like seeing Marvin Burks Jr. as the starter, having earned that spot. I'm not 100% sure that he earned it because he was really, really good and not just because he beat out the walk-on.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna err on the side of positivity and say Burks is really good. He's got that spot locked down, and Flagg is a capable backup if needed. I also love that Trajan Greco is up there as well, and I think he's going to see the field, whether it's on special teams or on the defense. I could see him being able to fill in Burke's spot as well, if needed to, or Trevez Johnson for that matter. I think either of those guys could be a perfectly capable, backup in Burks. They're not the exact same position, but because they don't really have a true strong safety with their star safety, they're interchangeable enough that they can kind of switch in and out.
Yeah, much like to your theory on Javen Richardson being the backup for both tackles, but only listed at one. I think, Sidney Williams, Trevez Johnson probably more than Sidney.
Williams is
the actual backup.
Yeah. Williams really has only played in the box last year. Anytime he was on the field, it was in the box. So I'd be kind of surprised if we saw him drop back too deep.
Yeah. So there you go. Well, I guess, okay. Blake Craig is listed as your kicker. Luke Bauer, the hero of Kentucky, is listed as your punter. You did bring in Orion Phillips from Murray State, of all places, actually, to be that other punter. But, God, Eli Drinkwitz loves nothing more than punt battles. And Bauer might be listed as the starter, but I guarantee you we see Bauer and Phillips take punt all year, basically, because he loves punting competition. So
can Phillips throw a 40-yard dime down the field? That's the question.
No, but can Luke Bauer grow a lush blonde mane like our Australian friend? So far he cannot.
Maybe we can combine powers. Can Orion donate some hair? Can we get some hair plugs in there or something?
Oh, man. Luke Bauer going Super Saiyan. I can't wait to see what that looks like. That would be incredible. Okay. I guess there's a little story here. You want to talk about punt returner, kick returner real quick? Or we could talk lawn snapper. Brett LeBlanc is going to be the lawn snapper for punting, and Trey Flint will be the lawn snapper for field goals. Luther Burden is listed as your first team punt returner. And Nathan Hurst, I don't believe that. I don't believe it at all. What are your thoughts?
I think he's going to come out against Murray State as the first punt returner that we see. I think they're going to give him the opportunity to catch the ball in the air off of punts and try to return it. Because if they want him to be any kind of Heisman candidate at all, he's going to have to do that a lot and well.
Yeah.
Now, after 2 weeks and we don't see much out of that, then I could see them saying, all right, we tried, we're gonna switch it up a little bit. We'll get Daniel Blood on the field. This might be the only way we can really get him on the field, but at least he'll feel like he's contributing, something along those lines. But I think they're gonna give him a shot. And if he's gonna pad his stats against anybody, it's gonna be against Murray State or against Buffalo. If he can get a punt return for a touchdown against one of those teams, just to pad those stats down the road. At the end of the year, no one's going to care who he returned the punt for a touchdown against, as long as he's got 1 or 2 on his resume. So they're going to try. Now comes Boston College, and we're still watching the ball bounce behind him for 20 yards. Then I think they'll probably change it up a little bit. So we'll see. We'll see. But I think they're at least going to try.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a receiver, you got to do a lot. I get that. Boy, just return punts for Heisman reasons. It would be cool to get a Heisman. I just don't think.
That's what I do in the video game. Is I put my.
I understand.
There trying to get the stats.
I understand.
I think that's what they're going to try too.
I understand. If you get hurt though, you just turn it off and try again. Let's settle for the Blitnikoff. Let's settle for having our best player carry us through the playoff without getting his head decapitated while trying to field a punt.
I don't disagree. I, for the record, do not want him returning punts.
Yeah.
The bang for your buck you get is not worth it.
Yeah.
When we've got other capable guys, I'd be fine with fair catching every single punt all season long, as long as we are assuring that we catch it. I would much rather take our chances with our offense on the field than risk anything, injury or muffed punt or anything. So.
Which is why Theo Weiss is listed as a punt returner.
Yeah. Catch the ball, son. Catch it and sit down.
Just catch it. Do you have Speedy Johnson as a kick returner? Which I feel like he did that last year too. Is that correct?
Later in the year, I think he got some run there. I like it a lot. He can catch the ball and run in one straight line really fast. And if they can get any kind of a blocking lane set up for him, let him go. So I like it. I like the idea. I like Josh Manning back there too.
Mm-hmm.
Get him another way to get him on the field, just like Daniel Blood. Get those guys contributing and used to the ball in their hands with 60,000 people screaming.
Yep. I'm in favor of receivers. Maybe not Luther Burden, but there's just too much talent there to not have them sit, which is why I didn't believe in Burden. I don't like it. Let's get some other guys out there so they can see the field. 100% on board with that. So we just went through the entire depth chart. It took us about an hour to do it because, spoiler alert, I'm not worried about Murray State. And those are famous last words. I know we talked about it a little bit at the beginning. It's just Eli Drinkwitz is going to have their minds right. I have no doubt about that. But boy, you could really just give your D game and probably still win. You don't want to do that. You don't want to win close against an FCS team. And there's enough different parts, strangeness, newness, new season, that wild things can happen. But I trust Eli Drinkwitz to be a good pitch man. I trust Eli Drinkwitz to give a hell of a speech. And I trust Eli Drinkwitz to create a culture of accountability. And he's been talking about it since the post-game press conference in the Cotton Bowl about this year. The biggest weakness is your own self, right? It's a new year. It's somebody different. Last year was last year. You weren't there. So I feel confident about this. I do think it's going to be plucky for about a quarter and then put them to bed. Who's going to score the first touchdown of the 2024 season? Nathan Hurst?
Nate Noel.
They're
going to move down the field relatively methodically, maybe on play 8 of the drive, 7-yard run, touchdown, Tigers.
My money is on Nate as well, just to offer a counter. Second play of the game, deep ball Luther Burden.
I'm here for it. I would love it. Yeah. Start padding those stats, man. Get him up there. Get him to
Get him
200
up there.
yards,
Yeah.
3 touchdowns in the first half, and get him
take
out.
a nap. Take a nap. Take a little nap. Yep. Thursday night game. I still love it. I know it's a pain in the butt for anybody who works, especially in Columbia. I know we're in this weird situation where they're telling faculty to treat it like a holiday, but everybody else has to treat it like a normal day. Also, it's going to be hot as balls out there. Please consume H2O as well as adult beverages. The last thing we need is heat exhaustion or passing out for anybody. But by all accounts, it should be a great night to watch some football. Sun's going to go down. It's going to be raucous. You're going to see the first game of a potentially transformative year for our favorite football program.
It's a sellout, which is the first time we've sold out a FCS game, I have to think.
Yeah.
Maybe, I mean, unless maybe 2008, did we sell out
Could
that FCS game? But I doubt we did.
I don't know. I don't care. I like it.
Sell out now.
It's the first one, you know. I like it. So yeah, we'll it's less than 24 hours away. We will do our post-game show this weekend. I know it's a Labor Day weekend. A lot of travels out there. We're going to be able to enjoy the extended weekend, enjoy football all throughout the weekend. It's going to be great. We will still get that show out to you. Hopefully we're not talking about anything drastic. I hope it was just a very boring game where you put up 50 and went to bed. But that is going to be our promise to you to get a show out before the weekend is over. Nathan Hurst, parting thoughts before we leave.
I'm just ready for it. My body is ready. My mind is ready. Taking work off tomorrow, taking work off Friday to recover. We're gonna make it happen. If it's here, let's do it.
Let's do it. That's the show for today. As always, we appreciate the downloads and the subscriptions. You can leave a comment or rate us because we love all types of feedback from you all. You can follow us on Twitter at Matt and H. Edwards. He's at Burst to Hurst. And of course, you can follow the Rock M flagship at Rock M Nation and our podcasting outlet at Rock M Radio. We appreciate tuning in this time. We'll do better next time. And until then, M-I-Z.
Z-O-U.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. We'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.